Hello, everyone, and we are so excited to be with you. Thank you for being a part of the Best Year Yet bundle. And I wanted to kind of dive into each of the contributors or some of the contributors this week so that you get to see them and know them for, yes, their offer, but also like the bigness behind their offer and the human behind the offer and the dream behind the offer. And I think it's so neat when we realize that like people pour their heart and their soul into what they create. And it isn't something that it's like lackadaisical or half-assed at all. It's the thing that they birthed from their mind and then put out into the world, and the amount of effort and the courage that it takes to show up and continue to show up and put themselves out there. So I want you to get to know the people behind the offer. And so, Allie, I'm so excited for you to be here. And so I want you to go ahead and do just a little quick introduction of who's Allie Diroma.
Sure. So, hi, I'm Allie. Thank you so much for having me, Jilly, because this is so wonderful to get to work with you and be part of this community that you're building. So I'm Allie, and I run Modern Body or created Modern Body, and that is an online Pilates and movement studio. So it is a membership style studio where you come, you basically can take any class that's on the site within your membership, and you have access to any, extra programs that we do, or live classes, or, tutorials and things that are on the site. So, plus, we also have a community, aspect to that as well. And yeah, so I teach people how to move their bodies, how to learn about their bodies, what they need for their bodies, and how to kind of start to tune into what they need as opposed to maybe everything that they've done before in the past. So it's a little bit different than what is really like the mainstream out there.
Mhm. And one of the reasons why I'm like so excited and honored that Allie's here is like I am a Modern Body member, and I've been a Modern Body member for like, I don't know, at least 5 months, I think.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, and Robbie, my husband and I, we do her classes like almost every day. And so my background was also in fitness before I got into coaching. And like I've done CrossFit, I've done triathlons, I've done long distance running. I was a Division 1 athlete. And so to go from this like really high intensity, like always injured, wrecked my nervous system and adrenals, like really had a bunch of different like body dysmorphia and unhealthy relationship with exercise in a lot of ways, to then using this year of saying like I'm ready to heal my body, I'm ready to see what slowness and different strength can look like. And so that's when I had known Allie's husband now for 4 years. And so then I saw what they were doing, and I was like, oh, I can't wait to be a part of it. And it truly has like changed my health, changed my life, changed my relationship to exercise, my relationship to my body. And so that is like the reason why that I wanted Allie to be a contributor, and because I believe in the product that you have made so much. So I hope if you haven't accessed Allie's offer yet, you go do that, because it is a beautiful way to care for yourself. And so, Allie, can you tell like a little bit more about like your background and like
Mhm.
fitness in your relationship with your body, and like because usually we create the thing that we also need and are drawn to. So I'd love to hear more about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So my background is very athletic, movement oriented, and I just say movement in general because it kind of encompasses like everything. Like I sometimes just call myself like a movement enthusiast because I like everything. And like I grew up doing all sorts of sports. I've danced my whole life. I did gymnastics. I swam a lot. I did competitive swimming. And then I got to college and I just decided to go very all in on dance. And I have my degree in dance where I specialized mainly ballet and modern dance. They kind of go together at the technique. So, but college is really where I dove into mostly modern dance. I kind of like just was doing ballet as, kind of like a foundation, like you just kind of have to do it to like keep your technique. So anyways, did that, graduated, and I started teaching at several locations and also performing and also choreographing. So I was just doing a lot. And I was working many, many jobs to get this to just like live my life. And I just knew I did not want to have like a traditional job. Like I just knew that wasn't like really for me. So, anyways, long story short, I got into Pilates more specifically. I had been doing it my whole life as like complementary cross training for dance. Like it's very common to learn Pilates, like, even when you're like 12 and 13 years old. And so I was teaching and I was like, I feel like I need to do more. I need to do more than what I'm doing right now. Like, I wasn't sure, am I going to go to get my master's degree? Am I going to go, you know, find a new certification, like to, enhance my knowledge already? So I settled on Pilates and I took my first Pilates course and I was just like hooked. And I was like, all right, this is it. I'm going to go all in on this. This is going to be like my master's degree. This is like my graduate program. So then I just kept taking courses and courses. And then I kept getting different certification levels. And I also teach people to be instructors as well. And so basically that's my background. And what really got me into it is that when I was teaching dance and I was performing and doing all this stuff, I just noticed a lot of students were getting injured. I wasn't feeling that great, but like I was so, I was strong, I was in shape. I was like, you wouldn't look at me and be like, oh, she looks like she's hurting, but like I was hurting. And a lot of other people were too, a lot of students. So I dive into Pilates and, I'm thinking, oh, I'm just going to help my dancers with this. I'm going to help myself and my dance students. But the more I got into Pilates and the training, it's for everybody. It's literally for everybody. Like my eyes were just opened when I was like, we were learning about posture and anatomy and different conditions, in different joints and what happens as we live our lives and we have like, our usual wear and tear in our bodies, even if you're taking great care of it. I mean, just things happen. We don't have balanced lives. Like we're always going to have one side that's maybe stronger than the other, right? Or get these different imbalances and misalignments. But over time, those sorts of things can really accumulate in our bodies and create these aches and pains that we have, could become chronic, like daily. And you feel like you can't ever get rid of them. So when I noticed that, I was like, you know what? I'm going to do more than dancers. I'm going to help. I want to help everybody because I don't know a single person who wouldn't benefit from this, So like truly Pilates is not it's not exclusive. It's a very actually inclusive type of movement. And I put Pilates into modern body because that's really the foundation. But then we also, that's like you're going to learn alignment and breathing and placement and really how to like tune into your body. But Pilates is just like one part of it. And then it's like, then you have functional movement, you have strength training, you have fascial health. There's so much science and research that's always coming out about our body and our health. So I take Pilates and I take my background from athletics, from dance, and from all this training I've done, and then, all the new research and findings that come out, and I put it together in many classes of all different layers and types. So that's why I always tell people, like, I mean, Pilates or movement in general is really for everybody. We don't have to think of it as exercise. We can think of it as a way to just like take care of ourselves, just like we would if we're gonna drink water, we're gonna eat, some vegetables. Like it doesn't have to be a big, complicated, long, drawn out thing. It's like 10, 20 minutes, do something for yourself today. And you won't regret it, right? Like you never regret going to do something like that or drinking that extra glass of water. If anything, you're like, oh, I'm so glad I did that. So I don't know if that answered all your questions, but
Yeah.
that's kind of how it started. That's kind of like where I'm at with it.
So good. And I like love everything. And it truly is. It's like, it's not just one thing. It's so many different things.
Yeah.
And so it's like, whether that day of, I'm feeling like my spine needs some love and like being able to do like mobility around the spine, or I feel like, I'm like my core or my legs or my arm. Like it's so great. And one of the concepts that really stuck out to me, and I want to talk about it here because I'm not someone that's going to promote hustle and grinding. Like
Mm,
I'm not going to promote that. And like, there's different times in life that require different efforts.
mhm.
But it was like, I don't know, it was a long time ago, but you talk about how things don't have to be hard all the time in order to receive benefit. And I want to make sure that like, as we're talking about like the best year yet and doing it scared and like things like that, is it doesn't mean that you have to go a million miles an hour, and it doesn't mean that you have to hurt yourself and your well-being. Like, it doesn't have to be hard all the time. And so can you go into that concept like a little bit, like, and I'm totally just putting you on the spot with
Yeah. No, actually, I love that.
but I love how you talk about it.
Yeah, so it's funny that you say that because, when we're taught, as kids or athletes or whatever, or even you don't have to be like any fitness class, they're going to tell you to like push and hard and increase your weights or increase your reps and like all this stuff, right? So, I mean, if we're constantly doing that, it's kind of like revving your car engine for the entire time that you're driving down the highway. Like it's going to blow eventually, right? That's why we have a gas pedal that has like different spectrums of speed.
Yeah.
So basically, what I teach a lot is levels of effort, right? And through our muscular system, through our nervous system or fascial system, through our breathing. I mean, you always want to be, or what we can do is be in tune with like what is the task at hand requiring, and do I always need to be pushing it to 100, or can I let it be light? And that's like, can I let this part be easy? Can I have a slow build? Can I sometimes have a harder effort at when I need it and be able to soften when I need it, right? Being able to ebb and flow and knowing how to do that in your body is just not something we're taught very often. But knowing of like what what is the level of what is required of this task right now? Do I need like all of my effort? Or could it be like, can I just let that be easy right now? Because I know it's probably not going to be easy the whole time, right? So like how can I regulate this so I can have a sustainable like practice daily? Like, I'm just thinking like physically, right? How can this be sustainable? So like maybe one day it's an easy day, maybe the next day it's a little bit more challenging, a little bit more effort. That can even happen within the course of, a class, right? The warm up, it's like the warm up can be easy. We can build, 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 and then we can come back out of it. Maybe it ebbs and flows and twists and turns. And I mean, that's really how life is anyways, right? So it's just like, why can't our class and the way we move our body mimic what we need in our real life too?
So good. So good. And one of the things that like, and I used to say this in my fitness classes too, is like how we do one thing is how we do everything. Right. And
Mm,
so if you're pushing yourself, like ask yourself why, like, why am I pushing myself? And why do I feel the need to push myself? And what is what I've been taught by society or family or whatever? Because we have all those things, um, like you got to work yourself up like the ladder or I'm the bottom of the totem pole and have to work myself up. I like early bird gets the worm. Like all of these things that are encouraging us to continue to push, push, push and work hard in order to feel like we're enough or worthy. When it's like, well, actually, what if my enoughness and my worthiness never changes, whether I am going a million miles an hour or actually giving myself that ease and like
mm,
can I allow myself to receive that ease?
mm.
And so I just want everyone to make sure that you're keeping that also, like as you're taking care of your body, how are you also taking care of your mind in the same way? How are you taking care of your spirit in the same way, your well-being in the same way? And like going after whatever you want to create in your life, like can there be ease? Can there be ebb and flow?
Mhm.
And that's very important. So
And
yeah.
I was just going to add one thing. It's like, because you're talking about all these, things that we're taught and like, being from fitness, you can relate to this too, is like we equate being sore, right, with having like the best workout, like it's effective, right? And while soreness is fine and good, like the thing is though, I've had classes where I'll do the same exercise for everyone. One person one day is sore and the next person they're not, right? Because everyone's going to experience the exercises however they're going to experience it in their body. You're going to feel the exercise where you need to feel it, right? So that's always going to be different too. So it's just like another way that we compare ourselves with like, how hard am I working all the time, when it's like, that's actually not a measure of like what's hard. And oftentimes it's like the things that look the easiest are like the hardest things, right? And you're just like, why was that so hard? That didn't look it, And it's because it's like it's more than that. It's more than like how many reps or how heavy, right?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And that I so relate in so many things. And there's so many times where, yeah, it looked like you're doing a class and I'm doing it with you, and you make it look so easy. And then Robbie are on the other side of the camera, like dying. And we're like, oh my
Yeah,
God, this looks like it would be so easy. And yet this is like so much harder. But
yeah.
again, it's like in society, we value like the big things, the grandiose things, the instead of like the small steps and the small things that are just as important. Because it's like, and I use this analogy a lot, but if you're running a marathon, you don't cross the start line and then cross the finish line, right?
Mm,
It's every single step
mhm,
matters to get you across that finish line. And yet so many times we look at crossing the finish line as the most important step
mm.
instead of every step that leads up to it. And so that's like, when you're saying the stuff, that's really what comes to mind. Yeah.
Yeah, that's such a good way to say it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so please, if you have not already signed up for Allie's offer, make sure you go and sign up for it and check out Modern Body. And I'll see you on the inside. But is there anything else that you want to say or leave people with, or anything to add that I didn't ask or we didn't talk about?
Um, I think the only thing I would add, just in terms of like, yeah, movement and just like body, but also just like taking care of yourself in general, is like, you know, and I say this a lot to people, is like, I don't teach like mainstream, fitness of how we think. I mean, there's definitely strength training on the site, and there's all sorts of different things that are mainstream, but typically it's like you have to allow yourself to just do it maybe differently than you've ever done in the past, and to like just have a totally open mind, because it's like, if you want to get somewhere different than where you're at currently, you have to have that, like, be okay with doing something that's like, it's a little unknown, right? It's like, okay, like, she's gonna teach me breathing. Like, don't I already know how to breathe? But it's like, yeah, but how have you been breathing? And like, maybe how could you do it maybe differently? Like, what do you not know? It's like that, the curiosity, right? So I think that's all I would say, is like, and I mean, it's true for me in many areas of my life, where I'm just like, okay, but I've always done it this way. But what if I did it this way this time? Like, what would be the outcome? Like, it could be different. It could be really great. So that's all I have to say.
So good. So good. And I second all of that.
Awesome.
So thank you so much for being here. Thank you for everything that you've given this week, and the generous and incredible offer, and just your courage of what you put out into the world. I personally know what that takes, and I'm constantly in awe, and I see you for that. So thank you. And thank you everyone for watching this and spending time with us today. And I hope that the things that we talked about in the topics, like, you take that and like you sit with it and you integrate it and you move with it and see what it brings up for you.
Mhm. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.